Hey guys, this is Aegis, and this is the final matchup, PVZ, and we over here have White Rom, one of my favorite Protoss players. His opponent is going to be Game of Drones, otherwise known as Liquid TLO, the little one. He's going to be playing, I'm going to call him TLO or the Game of Drones. I'll probably use it both, depending on what comes out of my mouth at the moment. And this is Core Compound, one of the new ladder maps. And we've covered all the other matchups, right? ZVZ, TVT, it was yesterday. First day was PvP. Following that, we had TVZ, I believe. And then the day after that was TVP. And if that made no sense to you, just enjoy this game on Core Hall Compound. White Rod's going to be dropping his pylon up at the front. So he will be going for a relatively fast expand here. We'll probably see a forge shortly. And a Game of Drones over here going to be dropping his pool very early. That is a 10 pool, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do any damage here. White Rod is going to be scouting this, and he will see the pool, as well as the very small number of drones. He's going to do some mining of his own from TLO's base. Maybe those 5 minerals will make a difference later on. White Raw is going to begin bothering those drones just to keep them from mining at least a little bit. The pool will finish up, and TLO, I think he'll make 6 Zerglings to run across the field. And Game of Drones is now making drones. So I guess he's got those 2 larvae right now, so we'll probably at least see a few Zerglings to maybe put a little bit of pressure on. But White Raw, there's 6 Zerglings coming out, so White Raw needs to get that cannon up as soon as possible. But no, he's going to go for the Nexus. And I guess he's banking on the fact that those Zerglings do actually take time to build. There are 4 sets of Zerglings coming across right now. White Raw now building his cannon. He's going to need a gateway to close this off as quickly as possible. Maybe even pull a few probes off of mining, or he could be in a lot of trouble. The Zerglings are now advancing across the field. There's the gateway coming up, and White Raw looking to close this off. One more building over here as the cannon will, I think, barely finish up just in time. The cannon is finishing the... And there's the pylon being dropped. White Raw sealing that gap off, and the 6 Zerglings out in the field. I think they might be able to fight the Nexus. And the probes getting lined up on the high ground over here. White Raw making sure that the Zerglings will be delayed from running into his main. And TLO now taking his natural expansion and building drones. And TLO is going to be bringing his Zerglings forward. Looks like a gateway does get dropped right in the way, and that will prevent those Zerglings from running up the ramp into White Raw's main. And this does put White Raw in a relatively good position. He is going to be able to secure his natural expansion soon. As soon as this one Zealot pops out, TLO is a little bit behind in terms of economy because his hatchery is so delayed due to that 10 pool. The Zealot is now out for White Raw, and without speed, that Zealot can also micro quite well against all of these Zerglings. White Raw getting out a second Zealot here to try to deal with those Zerglings, and the Zergling's going to be trying to poke in here to possibly do a little bit of damage, and that Zealot getting a little bit miscontrolled here, and White Raw trying to pull that back, and it looks like it does fall. The few probes will be forced to fall back, and a Cybernetics core now coming up for White Raw, and another Zealot coming out, and you can be sure that White Raw will not miscontrol this Zealot. More and more drones getting made by TLO. And a third base is now on the way. He's playing catch-up with White Raw, who does have the nice saturation at his second base right now. We'll see what kind of pressure White Raw decides to put on after being able to secure his second base. He will need to try to stop TLO from maximally utilizing the mining from the third base, or that will put him slightly behind. White Raw looking like he's going to put on a little bit of pressure with these 2 Zealots. Going to be headed over to the bottom side of this map. White Raw dropping another pylon over here, going up to 3 gas right now. Third base is now complete for TLO. He's getting out a couple of additional Zerglings just in case. 2 queens on the way as well. Another gateway coming up. Two additional gateways coming up for Whiterah. And he's also got the +1 ground weapons on the way. 2 zealots headed into the third base over here of TLO. They're going to try to pick off maybe a queen or a couple of Zerglings. Looks like the zealots will be forced to fall back, and the speed is now on the way for TLO. That's quite a bit of a delayed speed due to his 10 pool rush there. Very nice micro there by TLO, making sure that none of those Zerglings get hurt or, well, no, get killed. Looks like Whiterah not killing as many Zerglings as he would have liked to. Roachhorn and Evo Chamber coming up for TLO, and Whiterah getting up his Warp Gate research. It's just about finished. We'll likely see him put on a little bit of pressure here, as he does have 6 gateways finishing up, as well as that +1, so he's going to be able to throw on a lot of gateway pressure at this third base. A spine crawler does go down for TLO. TLO now securing a food lead at 66 supply, but as soon as those warp gates kick in, Whiterah will gain an advantage. We'll see what kind of units he decides to make. Probably a lot of zealots, I suppose, and maybe a couple of sentries to force field off these ramps. Core Hall Compound does have very interesting attack paths. There's a ramp over here, and you have to come up onto the high ground again here, so there's like a valley in the center of this map. Pylon is coming up for Whiterah over here. Looks like the Zerglings will spot it just in time and be able to pick this off, and this will delay Whiterah's pressure by quite a bit, and there's the Zealots now being warped in, and oh no, a couple of sentries may get picked off as well. Nice force fields by Whiterah, but that does use up the energy for later on, and this does delay Whiterah's push a little bit. Game of drones, TLO making 10 additional drones in the face of this pressure here. Another spine crawler coming up, a couple of roaches now out on the field. And it looks like a few roach counterattack here from Game of Drones. Another pylon coming up. Whiterah has nothing back here right now. He's going to be pushing into this third base over here. And Whiterah is in a little bit of trouble here. His units are all the way across the field. And the roaches coming in. Going to be able to kill off that cannon. But Whiterah warping in a bunch of stalkers should be able to deal with this. And this does stem the tide of pressure from Whiterah, because he's been forced to use a whole warp in over here back at home. And the roaches are targeted down a couple of those probes, and Whiterah being forced to retreat with a couple of his units here. Another warp in of stalkers. Whiterah knows that he needs to keep this pressure up, because this third base is coming into full effect right now. And TLO making 22 Zerglings. I don't think Whiterah is going to be able to push in here. Maybe try to take a third base while he's pressuring this third base of TLO. TLO making a couple additional Zerglings right now. He is on Lair Tech. He's grabbing another Evo Chamber. Very interesting to see that there's actually 0 creep spread out of TLO as of the moment. A cannon does finish for Whiterah just in time to deal with a bunch of Zerglings trying to bust down his front. A couple of stalkers being warped in here to do the damage necessary, but it looks like Whiterah is going to be forced to fall back with all of these units. The cybernetics core goes down. What a big hit, and these units from TLO are going to get trapped out here. Not the best force fields out of Whiterah. He does have blink, so he will be able to chase after these drones, roaches, as they do have a speed. So looks like these roaches will be able to get away in time, and Game of Drones making 10 additional roaches as well as additional Zerglings. Whiterah going to be pushing towards this location over here. The Stalkers, their blink was on cooldown there, so a couple of force fields going down, force fielding off a couple of those roaches, but not the best force fields there. TLO able to inch his forces forward, and Whiterah's forces are in quite a bit of trouble trying to blink micro back, but the Zerglings are just too good. The roaches and the Zerglings crushing forward. Whiterah down to 80 supply, and almost 0 of that is army supply. The Stalkers trying to retreat